Appleye, sorry about yesterday, man. I was cranky. And you were. It's fine. My bad, dude.
Okay, that's very nice of you. Thank you. I just
You do.
figured I would give you some space.
No, you're good. You say dope ass shit though, so like I like some of the stuff you're into.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think, so I'm glad that you're thinking. I mean, not to be over you or anything. I'm genuinely glad that you're thinking. Regarding what you were just talking about, my grocery store that I go to does give the boxes to the customers.
Yeah,
You get a choice. Yeah.
there are some grocery stores that do that. I think Aldi's does it or something, but like most of the stores don't though. Like I'd have to say like 90 something percent of the stores don't do that. They're throwing the boxes out in the back and then giving you the bag in the front. It's like, yo, just move the box to the front and fucking give it to the customer and let them because people would rather have a box. I'd rather bring the box back to the house than those crumply ripping paper bags are fucking terrible.
Yeah, it's really not convenient because the boxes come in so many different sizes. It's hard to stack them easy for the customer to grab them. So it
That is
becomes a pain
slightly,
for the
yeah,
workers and for the managers, so that it's even the people in the store, it's a hassle even for them to do it. So
yeah. My idea would be like you just have an area in front of the store. The problem is nobody builds buildings big enough, so there's no like extra room anywhere ever for anything. They build them exactly how
yeah.
big they need to save every nickel. But if you just had a little space in the front of the store, instead of crushing the boxes down, the guys that are loading the shelves could just dump them in the front of the store and make huge piles. You have a wall of boxes in the front of the store or some shit. I don't know. It could be done.
Yeah, in my spot they have like a big cage that they throw the boxes in and people just like reach in the cage and grab boxes. So it's like that. But they don't take up that much square foot. It's only like maybe 8 foot tall by like 6 foot wide, 6 foot deep, or 4 foot deep, maybe. So it's just whatever they can fit in there. And if that gets full up, they just start crushing boxes in the back. So, like, it's all about timing. They don't always have boxes because sometimes the timing isn't right, you know? So, oh, I wanted to say though, almost any grocery store you go to now in America, they're going to ask you at the register, do you want a bag? That's all part of the green movement. Every cashier and every supermarket has to ask you if you want a bag. It's like, I got all this shit piled up. So you want me to just put it in my cart and just walk it out to my car and then just throw in the back seat just to save a bag? Anyway, it always seems silly to me to ask me if I want a bag. So I take it out on the cashiers and I always say, yes, I want a bag.
Sometimes I'll have like
Unless they have boxes.
sometimes I'll have like two things at the counter of a gas station and they're like, "Do you want a bag?" It's like, bro, no, I don't want a fucking bag. I got a candy bar and a soda. What do you think?
Because they get so used to asking the customer that it's like habit to just ask, do you want it back? I mean, sometimes I walk out of the weed store with like 4 ounces of weed in like 8 different packages, and they still ask me if I want it back. I'm like, of course I want to. I mean, I don't say it like that to them because I don't want to get kicked out of the store. But of course I want a bag. I have 8 packages here. You know? So, like every retail store everywhere is asking people, do you want a bag? It's kind of silly. The whole thing is silly. The whole consumerism thing is silly. Money is silly. The corporations that produce everything, they're silly. The
Well, here in the
governments that
Netherlands, we just
maintain it
hang those
all.
bags
Yeah,
bags with the cashiers, so you can just take the bag if you want one or not.
yeah. Well, where the store I go to that only has bags, they charge you for each bag. So they ask you if you want a bag, but they do charge you for each bag. So it's like 10 cents a bag.
Yeah, but you got Albert Heijn in America these days. But they got normally here in the Netherlands, they got huge boxes in front of the stores. where they put all the carton boxes in, so you can just take them to put your groceries in.
Yeah, that's much more organic, much more smooth, much more natural. I agree. That's way better. Way better. Plus, you always have the option to bring your own satchel anyway, your own bag. You know, a lot of people just come in the store with their own bags. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they used to give away the plastic bags here, but they changed in with environmental. They couldn't give them away, so they had to pay for them. And now they're promoting you to buy a bag you can use more than once. So yeah,
Uh,
it's fucking ridiculous.
yeah, like the whole plastic industry is just amazing. And the interesting thing about that word, I know that everybody hates me talking about words, but the foundation of plastic is the Greek word plas, P-L-A-S. And then you have the word tick, tick tock, tick tock. So it's like a reveal right there inside that word, plastic. It goes with the word plasma.
Interesting. Seems like a lot of the clothes to the public include plastic. The polyester fibers are generally recycled plastic, so we have plastic on our skin now.
Oh, for sure. And the dust, there's nanodust in the air, all different kinds of particulates, not just from plastic, but from tire dust. So as the tires go down the road, they emit a nanoparticulate. And then when they decided to put catalytic converters in, so instead of having like pure exhaust coming out from the engine, it gets changed with the catalytic converter, but it literally changes the exhaust to nanoparticulate. So now our whole environment is just coated with these nanoparticulates, plastics, rubber dust, and then the other thing I just said, the catalytic converters that nanoparticularize the exhaust. So like we have had to accommodate the human species to a lot of these things that we've had to accommodate to. So we're amazing creatures because we seem to keep surviving. A lot of us die off as these changes come on, but then a lot of us don't die off and we keep making it. So who knows?
Yeah, the human body is pretty remarkable at surviving in hostile and for sure. Like toxic environments, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's stories around the world of people that are living in extreme conditions, but yet they're thriving. So, there it is. We used to always talk about the Eskimos up here in North America and Alaska because they live in ice houses. They literally build blocks of ice to live in. And then they create an environment of heat from their own bodies that's contained inside the ice house. So, like their bodies are actually the source of the heat, but they contain it with the ice house. They say some of the old mystics could go like a month without water or longer, and indefinitely without food. So, one of the scientific arguments on the water part is that each one of our cells contains water and it contains different amounts of water. So, it can be like dehydrated or very hydrated. So, for the mystics to be able to go a month without water, then their cells would have to be preconditioned, I would say, to be highly hydrated and retentive, be able to retain the water.
Yeah, some sort of recycling system.
Yeah. Or they're not losing the water somehow. I mean, like I know we sweat no matter what we do, we're always perspiring. So like there's water leaving. So there has to be some kind of explanation, partly scientific probably, and partly not scientific.
Yeah, I wonder if I think the environment would affect the length that someone could go without water. Like in a hot environment, it might shorten. Yeah, because we're expiring to cool the body and losing water, perhaps that way. But maybe in a cooler environment, we
Well,
wouldn't
there
be.
you go. Elevation. Then you go to the top of a mountain, you're in a cooler environment, just like that.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of the most famous mystics are like from the top of mountains, so, or at least they went to the top of a mountain at some point.
That's true. Interestingly enough, despite going to the tallest mountain on Earth, we won't be able to see visible curvature. Right? If we summit Everest, it appears really flat. I have a photo of it.
Yeah, and then we have Pikes Peak in Colorado, so that has a lot of famous history of people who survived. I mean, there's a few stories out there about people who survived Earth changes or Earth autophagy by being up there. So they were away from the turbulence that was happening on the surface because they were up so high. I guess you
All
all heard
ancient
about
stories,
Peter.
they
Well,
return. They
what'd you say?
return from the mountains. Said all ancient stories, they return from the mountains. The
Yeah,
gods.
because I think because they survived some type of cataclysm that happened on the surface.
There's enough evidence to prove that on the shoreline.
Yeah, and also in the common geography because and even in cities with you see the misplaced doors and windows where there was obviously a mud flood. So there's a lot in the geography though. Like look at something like the way that some of the rivers are formed. So that's very odd, and some of the canyons and some of the lava flows that have happened and become geography.
Yeah, Antwerp in Belgium is a pretty old city. I did some construction work on an old mansion house there. But if you look in the basement, but beneath that basement, which is half beneath the floor, but underneath that basement, there is another area basically. It's flooded totally, but they're all connected to the street. So there's a whole labyrinth underneath that city.
Yep, I think that that's a commonality in many cities around the globe, Earth. I almost said globe. So in many cities around the Earth, there's these history of cities under the cities or infrastructure that was built on top of other infrastructure that was there before.
Yeah, even in the Netherlands, in between Den Haag and Hilversum and another city, there are subterranean tunnels, and they recently restored them back to original state. You can
Wow,
guess why.
probably to use them.
Why else would you restore them?
I mean, there's stories in North America of huge palaces and like city environments and infrastructures and highways. And I live up in Northwest in Eastern Oregon, but there's like I live on a main highway. I mean, on a main throughway, so it is a highway, but not where I live. But you should see some of the tractor trailers that come through here and some of the pipes and some of the gigantic earth moving machines they have on their trailers. I mean, it's outrageous. It's outrageous. I know that they're maintaining and building more infrastructure underground. I'm sure of it. Did you hear that Peter the Eel moved to southern Argentina and he bought a bunch of land on the border of Uruguay and he enrolled all of his children in the school there?
I wouldn't be surprised because our king, he had a long time relation with just a Dutch girl, but at a certain point it just snapped off, and he married an Argentinian girl. But his grandfather in the war, he smuggled a lot of German Nazis to Argentina. So there is a damn well a connection there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, 100%. And the other reason is, I believe, I mean, I don't have any evidence of this, but that's a very good access point to the Antarctica. Man, even my Father and mother-in-law, they brag about their trip they took from southern tip of Argentina to the South Pole. They think they went to. I'm like, no, you didn't go to the South Pole. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and even if you look at the tectonic plates, then you see that the world is divided in 3 pieces, not 4.
Yeah, the triunal aspect just shows. You know that old saying, everything comes in threes. When you look around, there's a reason that's an old saying. So many things come in threes. Even yourself, and even though I've said this over and over, but even yourself is the third after your mother and the father. So your existence is based on 3.
Yeah, but you can't separate the 3, 6, 9.
Well,
The
I think
sun shows
everything
you
is
that.
explained. If you look at 1 through 9, it is 3 sets of 3. So 3 squared is 9. So 3 times 3 is 9. So there's 3 sets of 3 in there. So 9 is a 3 number. 6 is a 3 number.
Yeah, but to come to that 3, you got 2 numbers in front, you got 2 numbers in between for the other number, and another 2 numbers in between for the last number.
Well, if you look at each of those 3 sets of 3, each one has a central figure. So 1, 2, 3, the central figure is 2. 4, 5, 6, it's 5. 7, 8, 9, it's 8. But if you look at the entire scale, then 5 appears as the central figure because it's 4 coming in, 4 going out.
Yeah, but it's enclosed by 3 and 6.
What's enclosed by 3 and 6? 5?
4 and
No,
5.
5 represents the central figure, so it represents the axis. So it's the beginning, the middle, and the end. So 5 represents the entirety from its central position. I'm not saying those other 3 sets don't exist. I'm saying that 5
Pretty
is the
sure.
central operator, the central mediator, the central decider. So those other stories of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, those 3 sets, they're all still there.
Later.
They don't disappear. But 5 will always be the central figure. You don't find this out when you're born. When you're born and you recognize your parents, you're just 3. You don't see anything. You just see the 3 only. From there, you can claim your position in the 5th as the central figure. Like, just because you determine, I know I'm repeating myself, but just because you determine there's a reason that you exist, it doesn't mean you have to define it. If you know that there's a reason you exist and you own that with your logic and your intuition, then you own it. There's a reason you exist. And then you could work your way toward establishing what it is or what satisfies you to answer that question, why. But you don't need to know why right away. You just need to establish there's a reason that you exist.
There's always a reason.
Yeah, the only thing we can't come up with a reason for is where do ideas come from, because they pop up out of nowhere, like from nothing. So then the question is, what's nothing? What's this source of nothing where my ideas are coming from? What is it? So again, like you just said, there has to be a reason.
Yeah, I think the reason generally will show or give understanding why when we learn about the reason. Like, for instance, the Ten Commandments, I think they're in a specific order for a reason, and they're in perfect order. Like, the first three lay the foundation that you can build the rest upon. So there's always going to be a reason for the madness, I guess.
Well, I like that you brought up the procession. So the Ten Commandments shows a procession from the first one to the 10th one. So it's a procession from 1 through 10. So, everything follows this order where everything's a procession. So it moves from one thing to the next thing to the next thing.
Definitely.
But I think what we fail to recognize, it took me forever, my whole lifetime, to recognize that it's actually building. So even though everything's progressing from one thing to the next thing, nothing is actually lost. Everything is being retained. So it seems hard from our perspective to see that. So I had to use a lot of observational techniques to recognize that and to own it. But the truth from my perspective is that everything matters. Everything's being saved.
Yes, I agree. I think even though it might not appear its actions are being recorded, I do think they echo in eternity forever.
Yeah, I think it's similar to that word karma. It's just that that word is a trigger word for everybody, the word karma. But, generally speaking, karma means it's the effects of what your behavior was. Generally speaking, that's what karma means.
Surprised Jeremy's not chiming in. He's really, really into this stuff.
You might be ruminating.
Yeah, this is his thing, man. It's what he does.
Until you start balancing your emotional conclusions to your logical conclusions, you have to balance them. And that's what rumination is for, is to face yourself, face off with yourself, and say,
Yeah,
because it's a
Roomba
quiet.
Nation. I've heard him say that. Roomba Nation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you're doing. You're facing yourself and you're balancing your emotional conclusions to your logical conclusions. You're trying to make sense of it.
Oh, I thought you were like trying to get the whole nation on Roombas or something. Like automated, like automation,
Well, by applying yourself toward rumination, you are causing an automation process. So when you connect the logic to the intuition through rumination, that starts a process. So all those three powers become linked, and the way and the power of your reality bending becomes more clear to you.
What you know about crypto?
Well, the digital world is basically a way to permanently identify the human species. So I'm not really down with crypto, but I've studied money in general, like all through history, all the way back to Babylon.
All right.
Yeah. I don't mean to
Um,
change the subject, but the real reason for money is to displace the true nature of our emotions. So I know that's a heavy subject and a heavy statement to make. So I apologize, but that is the reason for money and the people behind money is to have us off balance and understanding our own emotions.
I thought it was just so we have just an easier mechanism of trading stuff.
Yeah, but everything's in abundance actually in the world. So we don't actually need any of these things. Everything we could possibly need is available right in the water, the air, and the earth.
I mean, I don't think there's an abundance of hand-built Koenigs eggs.
No, I agree. Like man-made things are going to be within limit, but natural things are unlimited.
I mean, there's a limited number of fish in the ocean. there's a limited number of orange orchards.
Yeah, but they're
And
all restoring themselves each year. I mean, it's like a cycle of continuation.
Yeah, but I mean, if everybody wanted
Those
to have
fish
like,
get
if
kids.
everybody wanted to eat like orca tuna, right? Like, there'd be no more orcas in the ocean, right? Like, there is a real world supply demand constraint, right? Like,
Well, when it comes to meat, that's another story. So like that would like branch off into another topic for me. But orca especially is like the most vile animal. The most vile thing you can do is to kill an orca and eat its
I
flesh.
agree. That's why I use that kind of as an extreme example, but
Yeah.
I don't think that you can. I think it's just a fact of our reality is that there is scarcity, right? Even amongst like you can like like you can over harvest a field, you can over harvest an ocean of fish. Like,
Yeah. Well, within the systems we've created, I 100% agree with you. We've created scarcity. So I believe that through our behaviors and our actions, we've created scarcity.
well, I mean,
So I believe in it.
scarcity is just a fact of nature, right?
No,
Like, what do you
no,
mean
no,
no?
I don't see nature that way. I see nature as constantly restoring itself and continuation. If we manage it
At a
properly,
rate,
I'm saying if we went local and rotated our crops, then we wouldn't have to worry about the soil having not enough nutrients for the plants if we simply rotated crops. So in the early America, that's how it was always done. But when we moved into the industrial age, things changed.
I mean, even
That
still,
was actually
regardless,
what created the Dust Bowl back in, was it the 40s or something?
you can only create a finite amount of food with a finite amount of land, right? And even if you go into like multi-story building, like extreme hydroponics, like, yeah, that'll greatly increase the density, but there's still a finite amount of food over a finite amount of
Well, there I
resources, right?
agree with you again because we have most people living in the cities. So we have a lot of people, but if we spread them out over the land, it wouldn't be quote unquote as many people because the resources would be more spread out. By
Well, it
having
doesn't
all
Jake,
matter
we
this,
if
can make
you,
enough food. We can make enough food, Jake, for like a zillion people, bro.
Exactly. You
I mean,
know how many food
I
we
agree in
throw
theory
away
with
daily that is going into the garbage that never gets eaten?
enough technology. I mean, sure, yeah. I mean, you
With
could create like,
microgreens, mushrooms. You can just make unlimited food almost. I mean, near unlimited, dude. Way more than we would need.
I mean,
Way
again,
more.
the cost of the food would go up substantially if you needed to build out like all this infrastructure, right? Like,
Yeah, but even without having to build a high rise skyscraper to make food in, like, dude, you could do it. There's plenty of even non farmable land. Like, I don't even think that should be a word anymore because we can I can go to non farmable land on the side of a mountain and set up an aquaponics. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's farmable land.
Yeah, in fact, I think in Venezuela there was so much being put to use. Chavez, when he was president, he made a law that could give the government the right to appropriate this land and use it for farming for the people. So yeah, definitely, there's so much farmland.
Yeah, like
dude,
even without building.
Ukraine practically feeds all of Europe, and that's way more food than I mean, that's a lot of people, and
Oh, they're
just
the
one
bread
little country
basket.
is feeding Europe, pretty
Yeah,
much.
they were the bread basket of Russia. That's why Russia don't. That's part of the reason why Russia doesn't want to lose them.
For sure, it's the most valuable land on the planet. Just about Ukraine is.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Yeah, but
like,
that's about grains, not all the other food.
Yeah, I know there's problems with grains because just the wheat is one of the worst offenders because of so many proteins. So there's like thousands of different proteins within the grain of wheat. And when your body faces that, it has to literally contend with that to process all these different chemical or protein structures. So, wheat is actually taxing on the human body.
Well, since UK has been sending munition with uranium contamination, I wouldn't want to eat that meat from Ukraine anymore.
Wow. Well, over here we use corn for everything in North America, so you can't buy just about any food anywhere that hasn't been adulterated one way or another with corn.
GMO.
Yeah, all of our corn is Monsanto or Bayer, whatever name you want to call them. Yeah. Glyphosate, it's called.
Yeah,
And
it's
they've paid
bad for
out
you.
billions. This company has paid out billions of dollars in fines for hurting people and killing them with their chemical. Yet it's still on the market and they're still in business. So that means they're friends with the people in high places.
Yeah,
The government.
supposedly Donald Trump signed a law where the producers in America that manufacture glyphosate have immunity from the 65,000 plus Americans that now have cancer. So some people are disappointed about that.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. Pretty sick. Like they've basically come forward, the regimes, the politicians rather, they've kind of come full face with us and just told us right to our face, we're gangsters and we're thugs and we're thieves. And you either take it or leave it. And like I don't know really know what they're up to. You know, I can't say what they're up to, why they're doing this. But right now they're just like laying it down. Like they are the thugs of the earth.
Well, if you want good pasta and good bread, you need to contact Italy because they banned those things.
Italy has like the highest age of living, and it used to be all over Eastern Russia that people living to be 120 to 160 on average.
Yeah, I could see why. Beautiful place over there. Nice land, nice culture, good food.
And Spain got wrecked, but there's still some
You got
places in Spain where they live the old way, where they, you know, they get up early, they work, then they have like a 2-3 hour break for lunch and naps,
Yeah,
and then
the
they come out and
siesta.
work some more and then party late till the night.
get Italian. You get Italian villages now where you can buy a house for just €1, store it, and go live in it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm seriously thinking about leaving US. So if a bunch of money comes my way soon, if I have time, I'm definitely going to think about it real
What
hard.
country? What countries would you want to consider?
Well, unfortunately, the North America is like Canada, Greenland, Venezuela, Mexico. So yeah, I would probably have to leave this hemisphere.
Yeah, probably. The goal from what I was
Yeah,
reading from American. Oh, did you want to see something, Crystal?
oh yeah, about Italy. Just watch where you go because they got volcanoes. One is still erupting, but they got the old ones still wandering under the ground. So in the future, you don't know what that ground is gonna do.
Hmm.
Oh, great point. Yeah. Yeah, supposedly the game plan for the Americans is this is from a former analyst or current analyst. He's saying he showed that there's like a website. So the American policy right now is to basically take over the entire Western Hemisphere, Canada, Greenland, South America, and keep all these nations, this side of the world, keeping them on the US dollar. And
Well, it'll
they're
be
going to,
called something. It'll be called something else, though. But yeah, it'll be
yeah,
a money system. It's there. What you're talking about is an East versus West. So the
yeah.
East would be Europe and Asia, and the West would be the entire Western Hemisphere.
An American feels that they can at least control the Western Hemisphere, right, because of proximity. So
Yeah.
that's something in their benefit. Because it
Well,
seems like there's another side of the world that wants to maybe shift away from the American dollar, and America is having to come up with a plan to stop that, from my understanding.
yeah, but I think if they get away with this isolationism, it will only be short term, and eventually everything will come under one umbrella, the whole globe. So I don't believe them. I think they're trying to throw us off with these plans. Like, did you know that the Technate map was actually drawn and thought of with a group of other people, but it included Elon Musk's grandfather. And he got kicked out of Canada for being a communist.
Wow.
Way back in the day. I mean, not modern Canada, but this we're talking about in like the 40s. So it was Elon Musk's grandfather who wrote the map called the Technate of Western Hemisphere domination by U.S.
Interesting.
Yeah, but everybody keeps forgetting. They are over war with everything, but they all agree about Antarctica. If you're all at war with each other, you're not going to agree about Antarctica, meaning they're all in pockets.
Yeah.
Well, I think 95% of what they do, they don't tell us at all. So the 5% that they share with us is prepared for our consumption. So I think we have to look, we should look at what they're presenting because they have to like do disclosures and what they say to us. So I think it has a lot of value, but I think we have to consider all the things they're not telling us also.
Yeah, below the surface, below the
Yeah.
public release. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but if
I mean,
you look
we
in your
have
shopping
clues.
malls, these days
What about?
some things are empty and some things in the shelves are empty. And it's usual things like seeds and all those dried fruits and everything. It's all disappearing out of the stores. But it will be reintroduced. But so somebody is hamstering those things, meaning preparing for something.
Well, I think the best way to prepare is learn how to don't eat hardly anything and make sure you have a good source of water. And then we get through the times of the breakdown of the infrastructure, because that's one of the worst things is being hungry, but worse is starving to death. So that's worse.
Yeah,
Okay,
but you
so
can survive long on nuts
right.
and seeds, and they're
That's
small to store. So
yes, I agree. And also, you can grow sprouts in the dark, and that's like fresh raw greens that you can eat. Like you don't need sunlight, so even in the dark, you can grow sprouts. But of course, you're going to lose your seeds from doing that. So you have to be careful how you handle that. But
oh, in the hydroponics, you can grow anything inside of your house. Above it, you can do
but
that
I meant
winter, summer, all year long.
yeah, as long as there's find ways to do it without being on the grid, without being on the electric. Also, oh, I saw
Yeah,
the
just get a
strangest.
loose solar panel. So something you use on
Yeah,
a camping. You just buckle that
yeah,
up on your lamp and you're good to go.
yeah, I have a couple stored away. I can't remember who did this meme. It was one of the big globalists, but he said that in the future we'll be paying for the air we breathe. And then this other globalist said, "Oh, this was Sam Altman said this one." He said, "In the future, intelligence, intel, knowledge will become a commodity, and only rich people will be able to afford it. So anybody who wants knowledge will have to pay for it." So here you got these two idiots. One said all knowledge will have to be paid for, and the other says we're going to be paying for the air we breathe someday. Pretty funny.
Yeah, but if you look at the colleges, they're already pulling the subsidence for students to to go to college in the first place. So they're already pulling the system back that they're introducing. So that means in the future, people that don't have money don't get to study anymore.
Exactly. But guess who does get free schooling and free university? Israel. And guess who the main provider of money to Israel is? USA. So in the Arab countries over there, they call USA and Israel Big Satan, Little Satan. And that's one of the clues that they're hooked up like that because, like I said, Israel doesn't have to pay for school. But Israel's
Yeah,
also
but
like 98% vaccinated, also, or whatever the number is, some supremely high number.
and who has the world's number one secret? Israel. So who's really running the world?
Yeah, I came up with an anagram for KGB and CIA. So if you put it together right, it spells Bagick, or the word Bajik. So between these two spy agencies, CIA, KGB, they're working with Mossad. So I think all three of them are part of a over governance system over top of the national governments, a secret
Even
government.
if you look at your FOI, even if you look at your FOI documents on the CIA reading, there's a whole trace of the U.S. working with Stalin.
For sure. For sure. And then behind them, they give us the front story of bankers paying for it, but that's a ridiculous story. So since that doesn't add up and it's total nonsense, we know that they're using that as a cover story or a front story, some type of drama to put in front of what's actually happening. So the bankers, I'm going to tell you the secret of money. The only reason that money exists and is viable and that we believe in it is because we're scared to fucking death. Because what's behind money is the greatest militaries of the world and beyond. So the thing that makes money real is might.
And that's just ridiculous.
Well, I know
Money
it sounded
it's
ridiculous.
just a convenience way to barter.
I'm not going
Fiat
to
money
disagree
gets its
with
value.
anything. I'm not going to
Fiat money,
disagree with anything you say, but finish making your points. But I'm not going to disagree with anything you say about the usefulness of money.
yeah, but I mean, what you're saying is just wrong, right? That the only reason why money has value is because of the military backing it. I mean, crypto has value, and you can trade goods and services for it. And that's not
I
something
said
that
I
was
said viable. I said viable. So I didn't actually use the word valuable. I used the word viable. So the reason it exists and is real and viable is because of the might behind it. That's my point.
what's the
People,
might behind cryptocurrency?
Well, these are usually going to be controlled opposition forces. So they're like, again, cover stories. So if the computers that are available today can break any sequence or any code, they can break any crypto key.
No, but they can't.
I know, but that's the two schools of thought. What you
What do
just said,
you, so
I
how
just said.
familiar are you with cryptography? I mean, how much have you studied cryptography in depth?
I would say hardly at all.
Okay, so then that's a ridiculous statement. You don't know anything about it, but you're saying that the computers in the world could easily crack it. That's not the
Well,
case.
it resonated with me with one of the writers that I read. So I was actually just repeating something that somebody else concluded, actually.
But why did you choose to believe it, especially
I
without
did. I
researching whether
said
there's
what.
any?
I said what. No, I said why. I combine it with all the research I've ever done and how it felt to me on an intuitional level, analogical level. So to me, it just resonated and made sense. But I'm admitting that I didn't come up with that thought. I repeated it.
And isn't that the whole point of the server is not believing whatever you read or hear? It's to
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. Like all the usefulness of tokens and having tokens to trade for stuff, I don't think that's a bad thing all by itself. I'm just saying where we've come to with money and how it took over our emotions and all of our activity and what's behind it now to keep it real with the banking and the militaries. It's just become distorted. But I don't have a problem with having tokens to trade with each other for things.
I mean, it's just, I mean, literally, like, like early tribes would just trade freaking coconut shells or whatever, right? Like in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's just a natural part of finding a more convenient way to barter for things because not every human is going to be able to produce everything that they want by themselves. You're naturally going to want the output of another human, and we need a convenient way to trade that. And people found a way that was more convenient than barter. I mean, that's like the whole nature of money.
Well, the one other perspective against that would be some Native American cultures did not have a word for ownership. So they didn't believe that anything in nature could be possessed or owned. So if you're having that perspective, then you would never see a need for tokens or money.
Yeah, but they still bartered. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Native American cultures, they bartered all the time with each other, amongst
No,
themselves
I
and
didn't
with
mean.
other neighboring nations.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm saying they were trading things that were coming from nature, and it would depend on what tribe you were in, what culture you were coming up in. So I was just saying there are perspectives out there where nothing can be owned, so there's no need for a token because everything's considered to be in abundance. You still need leadership, so I'm not saying no leadership. I'm just saying that there's no reason to own anything.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends on what you mean by that, right? Like they didn't, well, and it really, you can't form a blanket statement just because there's so many different tribes that had different philosophies on things. Some definitely had an idea of ownership of land and not intruding on my land, right?
Territorial, yeah.
But
Territorial, yeah.
but they would trade things like, like bows and arrows and arrowheads and things like that. And those are things that they manufactured from their environment, but it took a lot of time and resources to build them in quantities that would be necessary for survival. And so that's what the kind of things that they would trade amongst each other, right? Like all kinds of things like that. And so to try to say that, like, oh well, they didn't really believe in ownership, like obviously they did. They believed they owned the fruit of their labor, and then they would exchange it for the fruit of other people's labor, so that's how trade was established, right? And they were
Yeah, I
doing
think
this
that
long before a white man came over.
well, yeah, I think that you own your efforts and the outcomes that you create. So, yeah, I agree with you there. But I think there's a difference between owning something and domain. So, if you have domain, then you have like an obligation or responsibility to what you have domain over. But that wouldn't be the same as claiming ownership of it. Like the territories, for instance, you say, I have domain, I'm the manager of this territory, it's where my people live, I'm going to protect it. But you're not saying that you own the land. You're just saying you have domain over that territory. You're still giving ownership of the land to nature itself.
Well, if you say I have domain over this land, this is my people's land. If I see you come over here and use this land, even just walking on it, let alone hunting animals that I claim that live on it, you're going to be killed dead where you stand. I would say that's like really no different than our modern idea of ownership, right? Like I
Yes,
don't, I don't know how that
yes.
would be any different.
But if we had cultures, I mean, this is a big what if, but there is some truth to it, or at least history to it. So if we had cultures that were more, I guess, leaning matriarchically, then there wouldn't be the aspect of warring. So the warring just wouldn't be there, this intrusion into each other's territory. So if you can imagine that there was a previous culture to this one we live in where warring wasn't in the mindset at all. So people didn't claim things. So in that type of culture, then you wouldn't have any need for the warring mechanisms or money.
I mean, ultimately, your people might be living on land that they feel is inferior to someone else's land, right? That's going to naturally conflict is going to naturally arise, right? In that paradigm.
Yeah, it could. Yep.
Like you would rather live in the tropics of Hawaii than to live in the barren tundra of the China deserts or the Russian freezing tundra, right? Like
Yeah.
the
Well, now you're coming
calories
down to
the
how
calories
many
per
people? How
the
many
calories
people is
per
it going to
effort
be?
and the survival requirements are drastically different, right?
Yeah. No, I mean I agree with everything you said, but and then again, another monkey wrench is how many people are there altogether? Like, do we really need 8 billion people? But think about how, like, most of us are in cities. But if we were to spread out across the land, this might not be enough land, enough good land. So maybe there's too many people to actually occupy the livable land of Earth naturally, to live in it
Well, I mean,
naturally.
so you're going to tell people that have an instinct to reproduce to stop reproducing? I mean,
No, I don't know what the
isn't that the
answer.
kind of
I
stuff
don't
that
know
you're
what.
railing against? The George
I don't know
Soros
what the
idea?
answer is. I don't know what the answer is. I was just bringing it up as a monkey wrench. I don't no idea what to that problem would be.
I think the elites know what the answer is.
Yeah, they seem to have a plan in action to get us down to a few 100 million and dispose of the rest of us.
As long
But
as we have enough gullible, mainstream
I mean, look,
believing fools, their plan is going to keep chugging along.
oh yeah, just like corporations do.
look at the Georgia Guidestones, right?
Just take your vaccines.
Was it what 100 million people on the Georgia Guidestones?
I think it said 500
Keep
million
ignoring,
from 8 billion to 500 million. I think is
Or
what
was
they
it
wrote
500
on.
million? Yeah, I
Yeah,
forget the
500.
exact number, but it was.
and keep ignoring the World Economic Forum. It's just a think tank. No
I mean,
worries.
they tried with the COVID, right? They tried to cull us down, but thankfully, George Bush, they got. I mean, not George Bush. What am I saying? But I mean, Trump, he pushed the warp speed in, and we got the vaccine, and we stopped their plan. Thank God everyone got vaccinated.
Well, the Queen of the Netherlands and Ivanka Trump, they're making a plan to chip all your children. And when you don't chip them, when they get lost, they're not going to look for them anymore. And in the future, they want everybody chipped so you can jump on the bus and everything. Here we go, the future.
Yeah,
They don't
they're
need to chip
connecting
anyone.
they're
People
connecting.
voluntarily, right? They all hold a device with a chip, right? That they're glued to.
Oh yeah, but this connection of the human body and the human energy to the internet, this has been in the works since the UN was formed, and there's patents and policy papers throughout from then till now. And they claim, according to their own paperwork, that they connected our bodies to the internet in 1995. So, I mean, this shit is crazy.
Yep. And the biology papers and everything are there. They don't nanotechnology. Your
Yeah, I mean, they're
ions
not going to
in your
stop now.
skin.
If they got away with this much without us protesting, they're not going to stop now. The only way that we could protest now is to stop participating. Just stop participating. But how do you get enough people to do that all at once to have an effect? It's like this is the big question. And how many people would even want
Look,
to, because their life goes upside down. If you disconnect from the system, your life goes completely upside down if you're not prepared.
look at the COVID situation. Look how many people to wear a mask refuse to uh, to go to a bar and get a QR code to get in there. Those are the people who are against the system. But that was a really small group. And even with demonstrations, when you get millions of people in the and there's like 200,000 that just turn up for a big demonstration, brought out all over the country, then you got a fucking big problem.
What demonstrations really do though? Because these people can't stay there. Like they happen in Canada, right? They had the trucker rally, whatever. After like 2-3 days, I mean, they have to go back home and eat food. It's not like they're a unified group. We're going to be like, well, we're not going to work. We're not going to do
Oh
anything.
no, no, that's not just a thing. We have a freedom of demonstration here in the Netherlands. But when those kind of demonstrations come, they give you a spot to stand and a time to stand there. And when you don't leave that area within their time, they're going to bust your head in. So you do leave.
Well, that's another extra thing. I'm saying, imagine if people just said no. I mean, no one who goes to a demonstration. It's not like it's a unified group, right? We're just going to be like, we're going to stay here literally forever until we get our demand. Because they even without the police busting their heads in, they're just going to leave because they need to go eat food. It's like no one's going to like give them free food for
Yeah, but
endless.
that's the only way you're going to stop this. Put down your jobs, stop consuming, stop complying, and go sit on your ass all at once. What are you going to do? Take
Yeah,
you all on together?
yeah, everyone's got to do it though, but that's the problem. Everyone, I mean, they don't even have to like, sit on your ass. They have to just stop using the system at all, just completely ignoring it. Right? If literally like 60% of people did that, then yeah, for sure they can't. Well, that being said, we don't know what
If
the
you
broader const. We don't know. Like, imagine if there's extra land and there are more fucking. There's a massive army outside that could just come in and fucking enforce it any given time. Well, then we're
Yeah, but
fucked.
when you don't do your job, they don't have money to pay their own people. And what do you think those people are going to do when they don't get money
Um,
either?
Well, I'm saying there's an outside possibility that, like, you're a flat earther, I'm a flat earther. Like, it's possible that there's a huge civilization outside, and they could just bring troops from there. If that's, I mean, I'm not saying it's necessarily true, but it could be true.
Remember 2018 when all those was so interested in Antarctica? What was going on there back then?
Yeah, but imagine if there's literally like 3 times the landmass that we know here outside of Antarctica or whatever, right? And they've got like 5 times the population that we have living in that area. They would have an army big enough to come and just swat us, even if we do non-compliance and stuff. I still agree that non-compliance is the correct thing to do, morally, ethically, whatever.
Well,
But
those
7
soldiers,
kilometers
those
over the
soldiers,
land
those
show
soldiers from
you
other
you ate in a
lands,
360 circle.
I know, but there's dimensions within our environment that don't connect. They're like within the environment, but they stay in their own dimensions. Just like there's sectors in your bodies. Like our world is dimensional, and there's sectors. These dimensions are sectioned off. So these soldiers that you're talking about, they're not actually allowed in here by rule of nature. So they can't actually coexist with us. These supposed soldiers. So my theory is that the reason for these new megawatt data centers with these huge water swallowing capabilities is that they're like basically stealing the memory from the water and opening up portals to these intra or extra dimensional entities to coexist with us. So I'm very concerned about these megawatt bandwidth servers that are going up all over the place.
Well, what you're saying could be true. Right? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying it's definitely possible that there's literally just, I'm saying, geographical land with normal people or whatever, something like normal people, way
Yeah,
more than we have here, who
humanoids,
could just
humanoids like us.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but they're
whatever,
not allowed.
or just regular people, whatever. I'm just saying it's literally possible. I mean, I don't know. No one has shown me
You know
evidence of
what's
that.
more likely? That China's many million man army will invade your country and take it over.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like China, like it's like I don't think they have like, I don't think any of the world nations here are so unified that they would actually just do like the bidding of any of their oligarchs. I don't think that's the case.
Well, China doesn't like to win wars that way. They only like to win wars where you agreed to be taken over by them. So China's method is to have you agree to it.
Dude, I have like a fucking problem with people saying China or America or India or whatever, right? Because like everyone accepts that, like when you say China or India, you're not talking about the majority of the people. The majority of the people are just interchangeable across the world in many regards. They just
Of
want to
course.
fucking so we're talking about like some small group of people within all of those countries, and most likely they're already collaborating with each other. So when people talk about geopolitics, is India versus Iran versus China versus this versus that, it just doesn't make sense to me at all. It's like, what are we
Well,
talking about?
both stories are happening at once. So there's this separation story where they're separated from each other and they about their own nations, but they also answer to a higher system that unifies them. So that's what I've been trying to say is there's an over governance system over top of the nations. So they play the roles of being separated, but they answer to a higher power.
Well, insofar as they do that, it's not genuine conflict.
There's no conflict for them as long as they kiss the boot of their chief. Then they'll be rewarded. But if they go
Yeah,
against their boss, then they'll be scolded.
yeah.
And
Then it's just
possibly.
then yeah. And that being the case, I just don't see any sort of like, oh, I don't fear any one country more than I just fear the entire system because it's one and the same thing.
That's a good point. That's definitely a good point. But I think location matters. It does. So that's why I mentioned earlier, if I can find a way out of this country, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I think the world really is heaven, like the way it's talked about in the old books. So I think we're living in paradise, like the Garden of Eden, but we've simply transformed it into this huge variety from that pure state that we were in. So we're still here in the Garden of Eden. It's like a hidden away access point to our experience. So, within our experience is the history of the pure state and where we were incepted from. So I think that we have the tools built into us. They're just secreted away from our own behavior. So what caused the problem was putting away these things, and what would relieve the problem is to bring them back to life or to rediscover them. Look, variety is the spice of life, but spices go with meals. So what we've had as a human experience is a gigantic meal of perishing and dying over and over again and spreading everything out we could into a giant variety. But if variety is the spice of life and life is a meal, then all meals come to an end and then we move on to the next activity. So it's kind of like slow motion. So what's happening to human species is like a slow motion event, just like going out to the restaurant to have a meal and coming home again. Every day I wake up at home, then I go out and roam, and then sooner or later I head back home. And for me, that's a day.
What time's the party?
As soon as nap time's over, bro.
July 4th.
Do you know that in America that date is written 7-4?
Yeah, but for some reason they say 4th of July.
That's because they want to resonate with you old worldies in Europe who write it out 4.7.
True. 4,7.
Well, 4-7 is DG in letters, that's dog, and 7-4 is GD in letters, that's God.
And also Lincoln's speech 7 years ago is Trump, the 47th president.
Well, it's his 80th birthday. It's his 80th birthday, the day of the UFC fight on June 14th.
Oh, that's right. And his birthday was also on the anniversary of the army being founded.
So they're mocking God itself and the symbol 8, which is like a map blueprint of creation. It's like the most sacred symbol is the symbol 8. So they're actually mocking both at the same time on the day, well, eventually on the year 250 on 7.4.
What's symbol 8?
Say again? Oh, the symbol 8, yeah. So the symbol
Well,
8.
if you think about in April,
What about
if
April?
you think about, I was going to say, if you think about in.
You cut out. You cut out. Your connection dropped. Say
What
again.
is symbol 8? And what did that have to do with those dates?
Okay, symbol 8. That's Trump's 80th birthday on June 14th, and then he's in charge of the celebration of the whatever they called it, but the celebration 250, and he's having all these events, with the military.
Isn't it June? Not
No,
July.
that's
June.
June 14th is the UFC fight, and then there's going to be a
It's
big
his birthday.
celebration. Yeah, that's his birthday. Yeah.
You keep on saying July.
Yeah, but you don't understand the birthday is the same. It's his year of being 80. Okay, so it's all goes together. So he's mocking God and the symbol 8.
Oh my God, not this again.
Look, if you want somebody to be holding the Trump card over you, it might as well be a guy whose name is Trump. That way he's telling you the truth right to your face.
Figure out number 11 yet?
Yeah, 11 means divine. It also means L plus even, if you look at the word. L plus even.
Also equals 2.
What about 7?
And what does 2 mean?
7 is the gatekeeper to 8, 9. So the number scale is 3 sets of 3. We're in stage 2. We're in the middle stage.
So what does 2 mean?
2 means there's one and then another one. So in the Latin Roman alphabet, it goes I, then I, then I. Represents the mother and father, mother, father, and child. Number 2 is the second one after the divine. After
So what's
the
11?
11 is you. You're walking as the still source and the expression of it that's moving.
But 11 also is 2. So then 2
Yes, it
is
is.
all
No,
3.
it repeats itself. The number scale repeats itself from 10 to 19. So it starts out as 1 0, then 1 1, then 1 2, then 1
Sounds
3, 1
pretty
4.
circular.
No, it's not circular. It stops at
It's
19.
definitely
So
couldn't.
you
If you
do.
go to 11 and 11 is 2 and 11 is me, but me is also 1 and 1 1 and 1 and 1 1 1. You
I.
said, yeah, I, which is
Yeah.
what? Everything?
The first stage is your beginning stage, 1 through 9. So you're not a mature person, age 1 through 9, 0 through 9, actually. So from 0 through 9, you're not mature. But from 10 to 19, you become mature. So you're repeating it twice. You're doing it twice. Once as not mature, once as mature.
How do we call you, dude?
How do you
AD, is
call
it
what?
AE? What
Just
do you prefer to be called? What's your handle? Is it AE?
now, my legacy name has always been appleye. I just changed it recently with those new letter codes in the front,
Okay.
AE15. Yeah.
You know how you said for your gematria style, you take away the letter J, right? And then it's corresponding. Do you know that, like,
First of all, I don't remove the J. I consider the J as undefinable. So it doesn't get removed from
okay.
the alphabet. Yeah.
Okay, so like in the past, I can remember there's a lot of dates that had the letter J. So instead of like a 1872, it would say J872. Like, do you know why they took the J away and replaced it with the 1?
Yes, that actually was an I or a stylized I. So the I meant in the year of the Lord. So up until about 1600s, the end of 1600s, all dates were written as an I and not a 1 in front. So this indicates the possibility that we're missing 1,000 years or 1,000 years were added to our calendar. Because if they were still counting it as I 6 whatever in the 1600s, it begs the question, why didn't you call it 1 for 1,000-year mark?
So it was a stylized I, because like I in the same text next to the date, I can see there's a very distinctive I as well. So are you sure it couldn't have been a J? So it's definitely a stylized I, and then in the same sentence below it, there's an actual I.
Well, to help understand that, the J wasn't used in the dictionary. When you went through the dictionary, it went A to Z, and the J words were so few that they were included at the very end of the I section. So even up to 100 years ago, we weren't using J words very much at all, and they didn't even have a spot in the dictionary.
Well, the same with the letter S, right? It used to be a F replacing the S, yeah?
Yes, that's known as the esh, because that comes from Old English. So that symbol was called the esh, that looks like where it comes down under the line, and it looks like a long F stylized, and it's kind of S shaped. So that symbol's called the esh, and then that went out of style, and they separated the F and the S. But the original F, when it was invented, was called a digamma back in Latin times, because they saw, for whatever reason, they were putting 2 gammas in one symbol. So a junior size gamma built into a adult size gamma. And that was how they started doing the 6th letter, F.
You said there's 1,000 years missing, so what year should it be now?
Well, you just take 1,000 years off. So if Jesus died at 33 AD, then we're looking at the anniversary, or the 1,000-year anniversary in 2033.
So it's actually 12 something right now, is it? Like, oh, hang on. Take 1,000 years off. So it's not 2026, it's 1,026.
Correct.
Cool.
So this means our history is closer than they've been telling us, and it makes it more personal, because there's this huge difference in the sensation you'll feel if you think all this biblical stuff happened 2,000 years ago, then if it possibly happened 1,000 years ago, it just feels so much closer to home.
And they were so easy to cover it up, right, through the generations and the resets.
Yeah, I think so, because there's been several cataclysms during this period. So, with most of the population dying off, as long as you manage the new ones coming in with new history, then you can basically recreate history. I think we're in a long development, and we just have spread ourselves out so thin that now we kind of need managers to keep things in order. But then we give these managers so much power that they become corrupted. So then eventually they're so criminal in their behavior that their crimes have to expire. Like, crimes can't go forever. So I think, like, we're in a situation where, in like a criminal world, and the criminals have to keep basically covering their tracks all the time, and then when they get busted, they have to come up with alternate plans, like wrecking everything and starting over again. So I think they do it in pairing with natural order. So I think the earth also responds to these situations. So I think our rulers have advanced knowledge of history, and they kind of know how to run the timing of things.
There's a psychological test I saw online yesterday. Do you want to try it? Like, everyone try it. Don't tell the answer until you've done it, okay? And then I'll tell you. Before you tell me the answer, I'll tell you what it means. So, the capital E, right? The capital E, right? Write that. Imagine writing that on your forehead, okay? Right now, you got it, everybody. Right. So if you put the capital E like facing so that someone looking at your forehead would read it in the right direction, then you have empathy for others. And if you have the E so that it's the opposite way, so that from your mind's eye reading it, it would be in the right orientation, then you're more narcissistic.
That's very interesting, because I did the experiment as you laid it out, and I asked myself, which way do I want to point the E? And I immediately chose to point it to the left. And as you said, if someone's facing me would be reading it correctly, because it would
Yeah,
be going
yeah. And
right
Elon Musk had it facing towards himself.
You mean a straight line?
Right, he had the E for himself, because he, like, once you get ultimate power at that type of money, that type of power, you don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, I think that's what
What does
happened
it mean
to.
if
Yeah, I think that's what happened to the leaders that we created over time. Is they, in a way, because of their lust for power, they lost their emotional scale. So they become like a very one-dimensional in their thinking, and they just don't have emotions. They're not investigating their emotions the same way the common man is. So this is that, like, a specific way of saying, how are they corrupted? They lost their emotions.
so what does it mean if you wrote it upside down?
Is it possible? It'll be an M
That's a,
like McDonald's.
yeah, that's a letter M. That's for the Mormons.
Well, I heard that I heard you got fired from the M&M factory for throwing away all the E's. So I don't know. That's why I'm kind of confused.
And what color was the E? Like, when I wrote it, I was imagining it was red for some reason.
Dude, you messed that all up, bro. It's unbelievable with you.
Yeah, it's supposed to be W's, but I had to modify it, Jeremy. So you just settle down.
Yeah, the WM
Right?
are interesting because they're the same symbol and they represent woman, man. So your
Uh,
W is the woman. That's the
you
game
got to say
plan. Man's the executor.
quality control and shit. There's a whole setup
You're breaking up real bad.
for it, bro. Come on, dude.
The woman controls the money, man.
You said something about a quality control. Like that was all I heard, bro. I'm gonna write a letter to the school, bro. Tell them to get better Wi-Fi reception there, dude. I'm gonna get Starlink, dude, set up just for your school, Jeremy.
Somebody asked me to send him a piece of furniture to Anchorage, Alaska. I'm trying to figure out if it's possible for me to do it. I make like $800 if I can get it there.
You could just drive it there yourself, dude.
It's
Have a holiday while you're there.
It's 47 hours from where I live. I looked at the map. I'm not
Is there
going.
like a one of those man with a van companies over there? You just call like what's it called? Guy with a
Yeah.
car, man with a van.
Yeah, we have it. It's called uship.com, and they have like a whole national network of private movers, and then they bid on the jobs. So like I already checked it out through their platform, and they told me it was $200. So like my wife's on the phone with them right now going, come on now, tell us what the real price is to Anchorage. I have a customer on the hook, but I got to figure out, can I get it there?
Just scan it and let them 3D print it.
No, man, it's a 1960s dresser. It can't be remade that way.
Strap a parachute to it and send it off a fucking plane.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking. That reminds me when they put up Sarah Palin and John McCain against Barack Obama. And then when his second term came up, they put up this Mormon dude named Diaper Pants Mitt Romney. So, like, believe me, the candidates they put up against Obama, it was basically a setup. Like, there's no way you could vote for anybody but Obama, those two elections.
Some people think he's the Antichrist, and Kamala Harris. Kamala means lotus flower, and in the Egyptian sense, lotus flower. This like bringing in the sun god Ra.
Mm-hmm. I don't doubt it, and she's definitely a man. I guarantee you, 100% Kamala Harris is a man. There is no doubt about it. And they often
And
put a
apparently,
man's
there
name.
was a president back in the day that said, what was it, president? He said that the only way that a woman president would be able to come in is like if one dies. So I think what's going to happen shortly is Biden's going to pass away, Trump is going to get killed or unalived, and then Kamala Harris is going to come in, and Obama's going to be the sidekick, actually controlling. He's actually going to take over Kamala. Kamala's just a stepping stone for the Antichrist, Obama to come back in.
Well, if that takes place, then America is going to go into pestilence, famine, and civil wars, and most likely the Muslims will win, and then after that, the Chinese will come in and annex the whole place.
Or maybe the story about the potatoes in Ireland is actually referring to the future of America now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, what goes around comes around. If you think about all the abuses that Americans have stood by and not protested, they're as culpable as the leaders of America. I mean, I'm one of them. And, you know, I feel it. I know it. So it's truth. And this is why it's one of the reasons we're monolingual, is because by not having the spread of our language into bilingual or multilingual, we literally have a wrong perspective of the world. We don't see things the same way. So you folks that aren't Americans, you actually have the benefit of being at least bilingual and mostly you're multilingual over there. So that gives you a great advantage for perspectives to be able to see the world with different lenses.
I don't know, man. I thought like your population there had a lot of people that speak Spanish as well, Hispanics, right?
I didn't mean it that way. I meant that the people of America speak one language, generally speaking. Now the immigrants might they're forced to learn English, but everybody in the world.
Yeah, we're primarily a Spanish-speaking nation.
It could be at this
Maybe
point. It could be at this point. Yeah.
just in your neighborhood, dude.
I don't know, bro. You look at all the streets, dude, and fuck, even some of the states I feel like are like Mexican names and shit. Like New
Well,
Mexico, like come on, man.
this whole territory was owned by Spain in the very beginning. So Spain had the biggest army; they were the biggest colonialists, and then basically England and their armies, or whatever way they were being funded, they end up having more, and they basically moved Spain out of the way. The whole Spanish-American Civil War in 1900 basically removed the last of the territories that USA wanted from ownership that Spain had. Like some of them Eastern Pacific places, they were owned by Spain before, like Guam, for instance. And the money in America was pesos. Before we had dollars, all money in America was done with pesos. And the phrase pieces of eight, they would take the peso coin and cut it into 8 pieces. So Americas were trading pesos all the way until pieces of 8, and then eventually they created their own money. There's a good theory out there that the Revolutionary War was actually a series of colonialist empires that basically fought for this territory, USA. So apparently, I mean, it indicates that something happened to this nation. It was already civilized and already occupied, but some cataclysm happened, and then these other nations from Europe came over here to take the territory. So completely opposite from what they told us about the world being flat, about, Columbus. I mean, maybe Columbus came here, but I'm saying the Revolutionary War was about taking America, and it was many countries doing it. So if you look at the true story of England, it's like an extension of Rome. So, I mean, England might appear from the way they teach us to be an independent sovereign nation, but from all research I've done, they're an extension of Rome. So is all of the Western countries. The whole world really is an extension of the Roman Empire, just with all different names and split into different parts. But it's still the same people that were in charge in Rome.
Yep.
So the leaders play it like good little actors. They play it like they're independent and that they're doing their own thing, and they do because they have their own visions to worry about. But at the same time, they're also playing it that they're members of this larger network called the Club of Rome. Like, look at Discord, for example, and Palantir and SpaceX. These are all military operations. These aren't organic operations. These are all funded by the militaries. How do you suppose after January 6th happened, when Trump was denying the election and that big raid happened in DC, how do you suppose that the federal government was able to instantly request like 1 million messages from Discord and have them instantly handed to them? Because they already had their hands on them. They didn't ask Discord for those messages. They just retrieved them. And then they used them against, in the court cases for the January 6th. So they proved to us back then that they have total access to all of our conversations on Discord, all of our file shares, all of our voice calls. They have it. Everything is captured.
Damn, I didn't know that.
They're
Kind of
recording
scary.
all of them.
It's almost like some of these rooms just get set up for that purpose alone.
Well, they must be very scared of losing what they have. So to me, they look like desperate animals that are afraid and that they think they're going to lose everything. So they're pulling out all the stops. And that's why they're all over us, because there's something about us that's special that even we don't understand. But they know about it more than we do. But they want to access
What
to
you
it.
mean, like Discord?
Yeah, Discord, all the chat rooms, everything. They're recording everything every time. So you got to remember, there's only so many people that can actually look at this data, right? So a lot of the data just gets aggregated and
What you
goes
mean,
into
like Discord
What about Discord? You trailed off again. Whatever's wrong with your thing, I gotta wait.
rooms with
See,
like AI?
your phone is so fucked up, Jeremy.
I'd like to add two things real quick, and I'll go back on mute. But I know for a fact that military uses sites like this and other groups to train on how to control groups, like propaganda-wise, play both sides. That's a fact. And then also, who's to say that SE or me or Left Lane isn't like a troll, a true someone who's just put here as their job to instigate or, you know, maybe cause problems or see how people react or argue the opposite side every time just to gather information. Who would know, and how would you know? But I know a fact that the military definitely uses groups like this to train.
Well, it's a mixture of organic things that just naturally occur through natural processions, but there are interventions also. But a lot of these things, their reactions are on autopilot. So they have like algorithms, and they have ears, listening, ways of listening in. Besides just using microphones and having a human listen, like they have computerized, digitized ways of listening to things and aggregating information. So that's what I was
Yeah,
trying to say before, is that you're not going to be targeted just because you're saying something. I mean, you're part of a large pool of people. We're all, they're measuring all of us. So if they find a need to target an individual or the ears of the person that, like, say, like, you know how I'm very aggressive with my speech, right? So let's say I'm talking to a group of people and two or three of them are on the verge of waking up. They don't have to necessarily intervene with me. They could intervene into that person's life and like get them a phone call, give them an urge, make a thought go into their head. So there is this individualized targeting possible. They have the ability to do that, but they only have so much time and energy, just like we do. So most of what they're doing is on autopilot.
I can see it that way. I can see it all ways, but like, I don't know how you would know. I just know that it's happening. There's no way for me to tell, but it does seem strange, some of the occurrences. But, they could say the same thing about me, I guess.
Well, I mean, you'll know if you're a threat if you start getting a huge following organically, and then you will become a threat to the order that's in place right now. So if you start promoting natural order real loud and you start getting a following, then you would become a threat to the ordered nature of men. So there's this is the two worlds we live in. There's the natural world and the ordered up world by men. So you have man-made world and the natural world. It's always mixing together all the time, organically.
Well,
But men have
that's
their own way of applying themselves toward that to tilt it in their favor.
that's what I was going to bring up. In my view, it's a spiritual battle. So you have that side of it also, and it just, you can use the human side of reality, right? Human, like the way humans react, or certain things after all these years of studying and how to manipulate humans, how to control them. I think that's what it's all about. Control of our minds, right, through manipulation, like what they would be doing here. Whether it's true or not, right? It doesn't matter as long as there's groups debating something and they have control over it, and that's where the troll comes in, I believe, to control the information, control the conversation, control how I think, control how the other person opposing view thinks, right? And then you have total control.
Well, really, yeah, and it's organic because as long as then we're using our time and energy to argue and we're not looking at solutions. So it almost comes down to a choice of whether we talk about what we're against or whether we talk about what we're for. So if we change our mindset to talking about what we're for, then we wouldn't argue about all the claimers and all the wars and all the politics. We would be more interested in other things. But, that's not how the world presents itself to us. So we take from the world as it's presented to us. But I'm telling you right now that it comes down to what you're for or what you're against in your mindset. Proportionately, like you can't say, I'm not going to talk. You can't do that. But it's in proportion. So if you're spending a good amount of time thinking and using language about what you're for, it's going to benefit you greatly. The word for is very interesting because it can be spelled F-O-R-E, which is a way of saying get ahead of it or prepare. And then it also spells the number for, F-O-U-R. And then there's only a certain number, but there's a bunch of words that base to F-R because when you reduce a word, you take the vowels out and the duplicates. So there's only a small group of words that base to F-R. And one of them is fire, and the other is fear. So this word for is related. It's a relative to fire and fear.
How do you think they're doing it? How do they have Starlink up there, man? Is it like that? It's obviously not orbiting around and falling around a globe Earth, right? Like there must be. They've got technology. They've got balloons. They've got blimps. They've got like drones. They've got all of this high altitude like stuff. That's how they can take the photos for Google Earth, right? Like that's how they can spot weather systems and like even read the weather and show us a volcano exploding. But like it's still not real time enough because if there were actual satellites, like at the altitude that they claim satellites are, right? They would be able to zoom in and show me waving my hand up at the sky. That's what they used to claim that they could see a tennis ball from space, all of that bullshit. So satellites, there's a limit to how high they can go, like whatever it is,
Yeah,
100 miles up. No.
there's a Goldilocks zone up there if you've heard of it. Have you ever looked at pictures of sprites when they explode up in the upper atmosphere?
Yeah, well, I do believe that we're in a toroid, so there is a magnetic field that's like moving. So maybe they've hooked into that somehow. So it's
No,
like
no,
following.
no. Let me explain it. So the sprites is like a ball of lightning that explodes in the upper atmosphere, and when you photograph them, they almost always are photographed bursting downwards toward the surface. But sometimes at the higher levels, the sprites are photographed bursting upwards toward the sky, upwards. And then
That's called.
other
That's an
times
alpha.
they well, I just want to say they say I'm bursting both ways sometimes at the same time, up and down. So there's like a median line or something in the upper atmosphere where gravity is equal both ways. And as long as they can maintain, they could use low fuel for that. So if they can maintain that altitude, they would only need low fuel and maybe even the forces of nature itself by being in that zone. So this could be an answer to how they're doing the low Earth satellites.
Maybe maybe it's kind of like some type of a magnetic thing, and they could just stick to it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah, something like that, where there's these two forces are meeting at this line, and as long as they stay in that position, then they can virtually float in that position. They may need low fuel to adjust and stuff, but yeah.
Well, maybe they don't need any. Like, if they have the right polarity, they could just stick to it like a magnet.
Oh yeah, sure. I could see that too. Sure.
So, because like we were talking with who yesterday, Red's rhetoric, and like my question to him was like, besides the planets in our solar system, like what we can see, the sun, the moon, and the locals. Well, anything else far away, the only thing they can see are points of light. There's no discernible features about them at all. And he said, well, we can observe points of light rotating around other points of light. Yeah, well, that's all it is, though, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, you're right.
it's just CGI, fakery. That's everything besides what we can see from Earth locally. If it's not able to be seen from Earth locally, it's all bullshit.
Well, actually, if you zoom in with a good camera, then those closest planets and stars, they look like jelly balls that are like vibrating. So it's like as if you're looking through a water field or a plasma field into an energetic orb or something. But yeah, it's like it's more like a crystal that's moving. It's almost like a contained arc field or something. Like they don't look anything like planets or anything like the pictures they show us.
They kind of do that. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's one form. Like, but if you zoom in further, you can actually. What is it? Jupiter. What's the one with the rings around it? Jupiter.
Saturn.
I've seen through a telescope, and it looks just like Jupiter with the rings. Yeah.
Oh,
Is
cool.
it Jupiter? Which one's got the rings?
Saturn has the rings.
Yeah, I've seen that through a telescope. So I know what you mean about the sort of look like they're underwater, like plasma balls. But yeah, but besides the local ones, everything else are just points of light, and they have nothing else to say about them except for spectroscopy.
Yeah, it's quite the carnival show. I mean, I know people whose daughters and sons work at NASA. I don't know anybody that works at NASA, but I've talked to parents of people who work at NASA, and boy, are they proud of their kids working at NASA. I wonder what their kids think about it, the ones that actually work there. You got to figure they have everybody spread out and compartmentalized at NASA. So, like, everybody's given a task, a little job, a cubicle to work in, a supervisor to deal with. So it's probably just completely spread out, and like nobody's told the whole story that works at NASA, I'm sure.
Yeah, that works. That works at McDonald's too, right? Like, I don't know what they're doing in the office. They don't talk about all their business.
Yeah. Well, that's like the whole American way is to have everything specialized. Like in the early America, there was one teacher at the schoolhouse, and they covered all the subjects. So you didn't have a separate teacher for every subject. By doing it that way, they weren't separating the subject. Talked about different subjects. They were also talking about how they were interconnected. So when you leave social studies to go to math class and so forth, it's a subtle way of separating them from each other in your mind.
The only way is to be autodidactic in a way. A good thing for AI now, but I don't know. They've got AI. Obviously they've got AI that way, way, way more advanced than what they're dishing out for the public.
Well, more likely it's an interdimensional entity that doesn't have permission to be here, but our people have found a way to communicate with it. And I think that's the data centers are going to be like portals to allow a permanent pathway back and forth between the other dimension and our dimension. So I don't trust AI at all. I think it's evil. And it's like, I guess, I don't like using biblical terminology, but it's an extra dimensional entity. It doesn't have permission to be here.
Well, lucky for AI because it helped me with my diet. Like my doctor's just a piece of shit. Like, you go to the doctor and they just want to give you some pills, and like luckily there's AI there because I asked it a few questions about my diet, and I like if I didn't ask it, man, I'd be so depleted on all sorts of areas. My liver would probably stop functioning.
There's no denying that AI can be very helpful and beneficial the way that it's arranged as a tool. So as far as doing research and getting answers to things that are real hard to look up, because you know how you go on Google sometimes and everything's like completely irrelevant to what you were actually looking for. Like they're giving you like the latest meme on it. So like I agree with you. AI is very beneficial as a tool and as a research assistant. So yeah, but if having that convenience is going to lead to our entire beinghood being taken over, then no, it's not good.
I see AI as kind of just like a sort of advanced encyclopedia, really, and it is a tool for general purposes. But I think they've got like and have had like this on steroids for at least the last 50 years.
Yeah, it all came to pass on January, whatever the date was that Trump got inaugurated. And then a couple hours later in the Oval Office, he handed out $500 billion to Meta, Google, Musk, Palantir, Oracle, and a few other people. And he's been doing it nonstop since. And then he asked to move the military budget from $1 trillion a year to $1.5 trillion a year, 50% increase. So like we got a
Like
monster on our hands here.
it's the money he got from Japan, right?
What about Japan?
That's the money he got, the $500 million investment from Japan.
Oh, I wasn't talking about million. He wrote a check for 500 billion out of the U.S. Treasury to private corporations to help set up a police state in the United States.
When just after he got inaugurated.
Right, a couple hours after he got inaugurated, there was a big celebration in the Oval Office. All the bigwigs standing right behind him, and he announced he was putting out 500 billion for them to create a partnership with the government to make a police state. And then after all that fanfare was over, just a couple weeks later, he introduced Doge, which Elon Musk headed up to streamline the government's spending and abuses. So, like, I'm telling you, we got a monster on our hands here. He's a monster. My pet name for him is Red Nixon because he's as bad for U.S. and its population as the original Nixon was back in 1968. He's most famous for closing the gold window. So up until 19 whatever year he changed it, you could go up to any city that had a gold window. You could bring your dollars there, however many you wanted, and they would hand you back the equivalent in gold. So that's because American money used to be based on gold. So he closed the gold window. It's the most famous thing he did besides pretty much starting every alphabet agency we have today. So he bloated the government and closed the gold window. Richard Milhouse Nixon. So you're looking at that happening all over again, 50 times 10.
So do you think there's a connection between JFK and Trump?
Well, they're both from the same like bloodlines and the same type of family histories, but I don't think there's a physical connection between the two, or with the junior either. With what's his name? The junior, John. So I'm gonna tell you what all that Q shit is about. That before he became president, there's this huge underground. It's still there, called the Q Network. It's associated to the MAGAs, and they look at Trump as a white hat, behind the scenes underground hero. that's going to dismantle all of the evil networks in the world and restore the world to the golden age. It's all bullshit. So the whole
Yeah.
QAnon thing, it was all about the Q, as in the QUEUE, the waiting area. And it's also about the Q for questioning. And it's nothing about the CUE, which means getting to the point. So even though they told you the truth, that you need to get to the point, most of their messages was to keep you on standby, spinning in place, and waiting around.
Yeah, also like on cue, because the whole world is a stage, and like this is all just it's just like a pantomime. It's like they're following a script, and like he's on cue, and when he goes out, he's gonna get Kamala Harris to usher in Obama.
Yeah, it sounds that way. I mean, that looks like a good option for them right now, moving to the next phase. But like Trump said, he would be the last president. So I think there's multiple options available, okay? Because these guys operate with like dozens of plans and dozens of backup plans because we, the human beings, and our source of power is very, very unpredictable. So even though we hear about different plans, believe me, they have so many plans, it would drive you crazy to try to know them all.
Yeah, because he is the last president. So the next one that comes in is not going to be referred to as a president. That'll just be a leader ushering in the Antichrist.
Yeah, I could see that. And there's a lot of talk about Trump being what's known in biblical terms as the forerunner to the Messiah. So the Antichrist is the Messiah or the Messiah of the Torah in Jewish. So like since Trump's so palsy-walsy with Israel and Bibi Netanyahu and the way he's performing as the executive of America, it makes it look like he's playing the role of the forerunner.
And you've seen those what are those magazines? The last one that came out, and there was Hamas with the hang glider on the front cover of that
Economist.
Economist, right? If you look on that, you can see Trump. You can see Obama standing on a boat coming through an archway on a canal. That's like getting like he's getting birthed from the you can see the shape that it is of the arch. It looks like the female anatomy.
Yep. Did you watch the Pet Goat series when they came out?
Yeah. 1 and 2, I think, and maybe there's 3 as well. Pet Goat, Pet Goat 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's very interesting because oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Your phone was chopping. Phone's chopping.
Yeah, you say.
Yeah, your phone keeps chopping out. But yeah, the Pet Goat is PG is an acronym, but that's also the base to word pig. And GOAT is an acronym to greatest of all time. And we call our children kids. So when it says pet goat, you're saying the pet of the greatest of all time, which are the children of the human species. So pet goat is about their attempt at capturing the children of the human species.
And so telling in that iPad Goat what's going to be happening. You see like the American flag getting torn to pieces, and it's like it's all coming down, man, like Rome crumbling.
And with the Nero partying in the background while it's happening, because that's what all this Indy 500, the UFC fight, 90,000 people in attendance, all the 4th of July ceremonies, the ballroom. So, yeah. But we're the source of unknown unknowns, and that's why they make so many plans on top of plans on top of plans, because as much as they know about the patterns they can identify, there's new patterns that always appear that they have to contend with. So basically, we're the greatest challenge in the universe. And from our eyes, they're our greatest challenge that we've ever seen. So we're having a mutual admiration experience, as odd as that sounds.
So depressing to listen to Trump, like the way that he doesn't have like a way of like talking in detail. Like when he was describing on the news to his daughter-in-law's interview about the ballroom, instead of saying, yes, well, we're building it and it's going to have like this new structural integrity and talk about like details. No, it's like, it's beautiful. It's this beautiful building, costs a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And I'm a builder and I know what I'm doing. It's like so fucking vague.
I'd love to see them two standing next to each other because I think she's like 6'4" or something. And that would be a pretty odd couple, see them two standing next to each other.
Yeah.
She's the most biggest woman in the world, Lara Trump. She's not a woman. Her hips are way skinnier than her shoulders, and her wrists go to her crotch. Like that only a man could have arms that long. So she's beautiful, but she's a man.
She's one of them goddamn lady boys.
Yeah, drag queen, actually. Dairy Queen, man. DQ. That's where boys get their cheese titties from, at Dairy Queen. A friend of mine, he's a friend of mine now, but he's one of my family members. He owns a Dairy Queen in the town I live in here. But I live in a rural location, so I'm not really with city people right now. So it's a little bit different perspective.
Hey, do you watch
Hold on, man. Are you
French?
in upstate New York, dude?
No,
He
man.
doesn't.
Because you said you live near a throughway, and I didn't know anywhere else that had a throughway.
I just meant it cuts through from like Washington, upper east, upper western Oregon down into Nevada and California. So if you want to cut through these parts, you can either take the coast or you got to come past my house. There's so much rugged land around here. There's only like a couple ways to move from those parts into Nevada, Idaho, California.
Your phone's working properly again, Jeremy. I was watching a channel called Franchot Pearson. I don't know if you've ever heard of his channel, Franchot Blue or Franchot Pearson.
No.
He lives in Chicago. He's of the idea that Jesus is coming back, and he does gematria, and he follows like the storyline on the news, and he looks at things like codes, colors, and signs and symbols and stuff and numbers. And he looks at like even like he thinks that it's all run by the Phoenicians, and the color purple is like one of their colors, and he spots it in the news, and he looks at even like the color of what the politicians are wearing on the day, like Trump wears his tie, the color of his tie, or his shirt, or even like news events like school shootings and stuff. He will analyze those and comment on the things that he can read, like the signs, the numbers on the cars and stuff like that, to just like put it through his gematria calculator. Even like how Biden wore those polo shirts and he had like a horse and he had different color polo shirts with different color horses on different events. Like he'd have, how there's 4 horsemen. Like he read into all of that. Do you have any comment on this thinking?
Yes. So what you're looking at, he's detailing and giving it some complexity, but also some definition. But he's detailing something that I can explain in a more simple way. So what he's detailing is the energetic interplay. So everything has frequencies. Our speech is the highest form of energetic manipulation. The speech Speech is happening two places. It's the sound you make, but also as it pierces the air, it changes reality. And then when it hits another human being's ears, it changes their reality. So speech is the highest energetic interplay, but it's not just the speech. There's energetic interplay in the movements that we make, and our facial expressions, and the colors that we look at, and the arrangements of things, even in our dance moves or the way we walk. So there's a lot of energetic interplay, and altogether it aggregates into form or realities or thought streams or beliefs or value systems. So the overlords of the earth, they understand this energetic interplay very well. So they execute it in these very subtle ways. But now that we're in an age of disclosure, there's a lot of truth tellers or people waking up who are seeing these things and they want to tell other people about them. So I believe this fellow that you're looking at, he's basically describing as best he can the energetic interplay and basically the process that the overlords are using to mold reality in their favor.
Yeah, when you've got time, it'd be cool if you could check it out and comment on like what you see in his. I don't know if he's got some special ability or he's just like reading into it. I don't know. It's called. He's got two channels. One's Franchot Blue, and the other one is Franchot Pearson.
Well, how do you spell the first word, Franchot?
Franchot, Franchot.
Okay. I'm typing it in now since you didn't link me. On YouTube, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Franchot Pearson.
Well, I'm going to just type in Franchot Blue YouTube just so I can get there.
Yeah.
Pearson could be spelled a couple of different ways too, so hold on a second.
Pearson is Peaison.
Okay, that's a typical way, yeah. Pair plus son, yeah. Oh yeah, he seems really nice. I like his introduction on Google. Okay, cool. So I'll hit it up and I'll subscribe right now so it's on my list. And I'll throw a link
Awesome.
in my own notes. Oh, is
And
that his? Is that
you
his
haven't
page?
linked up a channel for everyone. Like last time, you said you have a channel and it's like an archive with an 8 replacing the H or something.
Yeah, let me call that up real quick too. Hold on. Let me just make sure I didn't get that wrong. I just have to type ST in my browser to go to my studio YouTube. All right, what's the name of our channel, dear? Not you. I'm not talking to Nina.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It's just like I said. ARC, ARC, 8, symbol 8, and then IVE. Archive, replace the H with an 8. So that's our presence on YouTube. It's limited because we privatized a lot of the videos, but yeah, and
You
we're
just
on
post it
Rumble. Yeah.
live text or whatever, or live stream one.
Oh yeah. Just give me a second. I'll put it in there. I'm up on the PC on a different account, but yeah, I'll put it in there right now under Try Me account.
We really need to get some like some sort of this your channel thinking like these and have like a think tank. I'd like to be part of the audience for this big think tank.
That's great. I mean, really, the big part isn't going to happen because big doesn't happen right away. So we're starting out with small think tank just to put things in proper perspective. But the power that we can create from a small think tank is big. So from a small
Well,
think tank, we can make big power. And we can also create an energy that can spread into other small groups.
I wasn't meaning big as in numbers and as followers to begin with. I was meaning big as in like powerful, like as
Yes.
with the powerful.
Yes, we agree. All right, I'm going over to live stream text. That's where you want me to put it?
Yeah.
All right, it's going to be under try me. I know I sound crazy when I'm typing, so don't hold it against me, okay? Because I am crazy.
Obviously, I think obviously probably in the past maybe followed channels like Martin Liedker, Flat Earth British.
I don't. That name sounded familiar, but I'm usually looking at the spiritual side of
That stuff.
things.
Stereo Mudflood, looking back at old texts and old literature.
Well, I don't think we have to argue that there was a year or two, a mud flood of sorts that just washed cities in mud. So yeah, we know that it happened for sure in certain locations. So like we don't really have to keep documenting. It's okay to keep documenting it, but I meant proportionally, we should more of our energy about answering the whys and where we're going to go from here.
What do you think? So, like, the city grids have been laid out like a computer chip, like a motherboard, and like some of the buildings, all the buildings together, it kind of forms like a computer circuit.
Well, it's multiple reasons, but part of it is energetic interplay. So a lot of these designs are to take advantage of the natural energy of Earth, the Earth realm that we live in. So almost everything we see is exploiting or benefiting from the natural order. And like we wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for the natural order. So it's all, I don't mean to change the subject, but it's always going to be a contrast between the natural order and what men are making out of natural order. And, you know,
That's
ways that
not
they're holding it.
right on point. Like, that's right on point. Like, that's right up Dyslow's alley. Just waiting for Dyslow to comment because he's got a lot of good information to share as well.
What are you guys discussing? I wasn't really paying attention.
Energy.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if I got time for that discussion at the moment, but definitely maybe in about an hour or so.
I'll be clipping that conversation in an hour, man. That's Dyslow's always had really good content, and he's interested in people like Ken Wheeler and what
Well,
he
that's
has to
all.
show.
Yeah, Wheeler rubs me the wrong way, but you know, not that he doesn't have valuable information. I'm sure he does. But like I've always had this problem. Like people have a problem with me. Like they want my intel, but they don't want me. And like I've had to embrace a lot of teachers that I didn't like, and I just got over it. And then I found out I was wrong to hold this certain thing against them. But with Ken Wheeler, it's very overpowering, my sensation that I'm wasting my time. So I apologize if I offended anybody when I said that, but that's the way I feel about it.
Oh, dude, I've been hearing that since day one about him. He rubs everyone the wrong way. I mean, he comes off very, I don't know, hubristic, but no, I mean, ultimately, guy's a genius, dude. Um, and it's not all his work. I mean, a lot of it is other people's work that he's building off of.
Well, it's not that I don't see that because I did spend time listening and watching his videos and stuff. You know, so like I see that he's calling up previous information that's agreed on. As I said, I'm rubbed the wrong way by his conclusions. That's all.
Yeah, but if you're denying Ken Wheeler, you're denying Will and Tesla.
I'm denying Tesla also, yes. There's a real story
Well, you might
behind the
be on your own
moon.
there, bud.
No, but the reason I have a decent reason, and I can state it simply: these folks are measuring the effects, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they're out of proportion to recognizing the still source. So my simple reason for rejecting them is that they're disassociating from the still source, and they're getting quote unquote lost in the effects. Like I like Tesla because he explains how the energetic air works. I mean, in his own way. Now he's not really disclosing it that well, but he does show all these different instruments and ways of measuring and exploiting the energetic air, the ether. So, I appreciate Tesla's work there very much, that he exposed all these principles to people and all the different inventions he came up with. But electricity itself is not healthy for the human being. So I do not agree with electricity. I think that's a bad way to bring power into a home, and it's dirty and it hurts people. It
Yeah,
causes their lives to be shortened.
but you're making a mistake. We adopted the Hertz system, not the Tesla system.
Well, I meant alternating current, though. That's what I was talking about, alternating current.
Because if you were using Tesla ground energy,
Well, I'm not talking about plasma energy. So the way that he exploited plasma and the air, like I see air in plasma fields.
I'm not talking
So
about
that's my own
plasma. I'm
perspective.
talking about longitudinal wavefronts to ground.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good work there. The way he measured the different ways of measuring the energetic forces, the interplay. Like I don't deny that. He did a lot of great work to expose those things. I'm saying alternating current, the form of electricity that we use, is unhealthy.
But that's not Tesla's work.
Well, there was a big war between Edison and Tesla's invention of alternating current, and Edison's invention of direct current lost. Tesla used to work for Edison. That's why they broke up, because Tesla invented
But did
alternating
they?
current. Go ahead.
But did Tesla use? Because I still use.
I didn't get the whole sentence, only the first 3 or 4 words.
I said, did Tesla lose? Because they're already using his work in field propulsion, just like Maxwell's equations, direct effect.
Well, I didn't say Tesla lost. I said the human beings are losing their health because of using alternating.
There's no place like home. With HomeWatch Caregivers Total Care Solutions, you